Do you think that the physical the physical outlet for you guys was because of the disconnect from your dad, like not having that connection with a father figure in the house?
Yeah, I think that was a huge component of it. There's a lot of like I see my childhood so completely different today than I've ever seen it before. And a lot of that has come through healing and through trauma and being able to really reflect back and see. When I say the truth of things, I think that, I think truth is always relative to where you're at in life. Like I would have said that I knew the truth of my childhood 20 years ago. Like I would have said, hey, this is what my childhood was. And I would have thought that's the truth of it. And I think both things are true. I think that was true. I think I grew up in a way that I can see it through a lens that it was, I had crazy brothers that used to be out of me and it made me really tough. And I, would, I never luckily I never had to really fight anybody because I, yeah, I don't know why, whether it definitely wasn't because of them. Like they weren't the kind of brothers that like had my back because they were too much older than me. Right.
Hmm.
Anyways, I see the childhood through that lens. And then as I've continued to heal, I see it through a completely different lens. And there was a lot of going on in my house that wasn't being addressed and wasn't being talked about and wasn't being acknowledged and actually was being hidden and all sorts of things like that. So the level of like emotional repression has to have an outlet. And I think that's a lot of what we as little boys were doing, was feeling all of that stuff and not knowing how to express it, but knowing something was wrong. So just off gassing almost into each other. And then
Yeah.
it just
Makes
becomes
sense.
this cycle and pattern of, do you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's this level of trauma that's existing and happening that's not really being addressed and talked about, but it's manifesting in this way in the house.
Well, and I think
So,
that I know for Gen X men when they were kids, and definitely for Zennial and elder millennial men, I'm sure, the acceptable emotion to express was anger, and anything
mhm.
else, um, there was no one helped you guys define your emotions in any way. Like, well, you're feeling this way, and this might be why. No one got to the root of anything, and
No,
God forbid you guys cried. So I think that makes sense. That I have a feeling that a large majority of Gen X and elder millennial men, when they were kids, did act out physically because it builds up. And then the only outlet you have is that physical reaction, or just being angry and edgy as a
yeah,
way of
Well,
expressing
especially 3
emotions.
boys too. You guys certainly had to have fed off of each other, and especially the older 2, right? And then here's this younger one. It's a perfect cocktail in many ways. You gotta express your rage somehow or, and it's could start as my buddy's, my best friend's, he had an older brother, and he used to pick on us, punch us, cow bites, press us down and hang loogies over our head and shit like that, right? But then
yeah,
we got old enough, and the 2 of us got old enough where we could take him, and there for a while there, we couldn't, but then once we could, it ended because we started doing that shit back to him.